Hitting the magic button. Got all the magic people starting to pour in. Hello, magic people. Welcome. I'm going to hit the magic button over on Facebook. And we're going to see how this goes. I think we're underway. Yep. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Glad that you all could make it today for a little tea with Lee. And we're just getting off to a start here. So we're going to let folks trickle in a little bit and then we'll get started. Those of you who are on Zoom, please jump in the chat room, say hello, but make sure that little drop down says all panelists and attendees so you all can talk amongst yourselves. If you're on Facebook, welcome. Glad you could jump onto our live here. And if you're interested in being part of Zoom, you're welcome to come over and do that through the link that one of our lovely team members will post in the comments below. Otherwise, welcome to stay on Facebook and enjoy the live stream. Okay, folks are starting to pour in. We got folks coming in from Manchester, UK, and elsewhere in the UK, and Idaho, and Dallas, and Arcata, and Tampa, Bonnie Doon, and Tucson, Arizona, and hot Calgary. Heard of that? Hot Calgary. That sounds like a Broadway musical, doesn't it? Got folks coming in from Namaste. I think that's a sentiment, not a place, but what do I know? And so glad you're all here. Let me let you know how this is going to go down and who I am. I'm Ben. I'm the co-founder of Holden Qi Gong. Lee and I have been working together, bringing all this Qigong work out into the world at large and onto the internet for several years. And we are really excited that we're able to interact with you folks live through Zoom now and doing our classes, our subscription classes live through Zoom and the workshops and so forth. It's been going really well, and we've been really enjoying the opportunity to engage with you folks more directly than we were able to before. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to hang out. We're going to talk a little bit, have our tea. I'm going to drink some Trinity today, since that's one of Lee's favorites, and I'm pulling a switcheroo on you. And then we're going to do some Q&A. So if you have questions and you're in the Zoom, please put them into the Q&A area. There's actually a button somewhere, and it's down on the bottom if you're on the normal desktop version of Zoom, but it could be elsewhere on the mobile. And do that for your questions. That way we can keep track of them all, and we'll get to as many as we have time for. And then over on Facebook, if you want to ask questions, feel free to put them in comments below the post, and one of our lovely folks will come over, gather those up, and proxy them over here when the time is right, and ask Lee on your behalf. So that'll be later on. And then somewhere around the end, oh, hey, we have a visitor.
Say hi.
Oh, no, she's like, ah, we have a whole team of visitors.
Team visitors, say hi.
All right. They're passing through. It's like ships passing in the night.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we roll here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did it with my kids today because they were on Zoom for their schooling now. So everybody's on Zoom getting smart and learning and asking questions. And that's what we're doing here too.
I love it. They're on Zoom for school already.
I know. Today was, I think, the second full day of Zoom.
Second full day. Cool. Well, I'm pleased that we're here and we're able to settle in and do some tea. And we have more folks joining us as we speak. Got folks coming in from Pacifica and Creativity Weird, Oregon. Is that a name of a town in Oregon? Probably not.
Yeah. It could just be Oregon itself.
It could just be. Yeah, I think that's what she's saying. Yeah. Bocalia, Florida, Burlington, Ontario, Belgium, Ireland, Chicago, New Zealand, joining with tea from my desk at work. Just getting your day started, huh, Sharon? Good for you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, well, I'm going to start getting some tea together. What are you drinking today, Lee?
I'm drinking out of this little pot that I just got gifted. We just moved to a new house, and a friend just stopped by and brought this little tiny, cute, ornate teapot with some letters here. I think it says "Keep the Qi Flowing," if I'm reading that correctly. and then beautiful little painting in the side of the clay.
Very nice.
And then I opened up a mason jar that was full of tea that had no label. It smells old though. It smells good. I haven't tasted it yet. I was going to wait till I drink it with all y'all.
Well, I think that's lovely. And what a cute little pot. I recognize that pot. I've been eyeballing that pot for a while, so I'm glad somebody took it off the shelf. This is my even smaller pot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This
Tiny little pot.
is a tiny little pot. It's got this one little chip in it, which I think is adorable. It's right there in the lid. And this pot is made of 80s clay. And 80s clay is in the 80s, they call it 80s clay because up until the 1980s, they would make Yixing teapots. It's spelled Y-I-X-I-N-G, and it's the region of China where these come from originally, and now it's the name of the clay. And they would make these out of this extremely porous clay. And the whole idea is that the clay is so porous that when it's hot, all the pores expand, and then the tea goes in there. And then when it gets cool, it traps the tea. So some of the tea flavor is trapped every time you brew. You add a little more flavor to the pot. And so it's sort of, in legend, eventually you could just pour hot water into your old clay teapot you've been using for decades and get tea out of it, although I'm not sure that's true. But certainly get some flavor out of it. And every pot you make gets flavored a little bit more. And one of the tricky things about this pot takes a little extra gong fu because it doesn't have a strainer at all. It's just a hole right here. It's just straight through. So you really have to kind of be aware of just exactly how much you're tipping it when you're pouring it and kind of let it do its thing. And ideally use it with somewhat bigger leaves or things that are stemmy. So I'm using Trinity because it's got fairly big leaves and it's got stems and makes it kind of easier to use this pot than some of the other ones, like little tiny chopped up fine ones. And I'm super excited about it. It's I haven't used this pot in a little while. I use it periodically and I do love it when I get to. So my tiny pot, your tiny pot, it's time to drink some tea. I can't wait to try your mason jar tea.
Mine is angular.
Yours is what? Sorry?
It's mine has all these angles and lines on it, and yours is very round. So it's kind of the yin and yang of the little teapots.
It's true. Yeah, mine is very yin, very rounded, very cute.
And this lid is square.
That's cool looking.
Cool lid.
As we often do, are you? You've already got your tea. Great. I'm just getting.
Poured a cup.
Perfect. Well, do you want to lead folks in some sort of getting settled, getting present moment?
Yeah, let's do a tea and Qi practice called sipping on the elixir.
That's great. And everybody, if you're drinking tea, we'd love to know what you're drinking. And then take a moment to get your tea ready. Make sure it's in your hand or wherever so that we can do this sipping on the elixir.
I might have just made that up, but it's an ancient practice.
I wouldn't be surprised either way. But I love me some elixir, so let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. So what we're going to do, we're going to have the tea in our hands, and then we're going to do just a minute of breathing in and out to this point, to the mid-eye point. This in Chinese medicine is called yin tong, which is translates as the hall of impressions. It's about perception and how we view ourselves in life. And what we're going to do is bring energy into this point, into the mouth, through the upper palate, mix it together with the tea, and you visualize the tea turning into this golden elixir, and then we swallow it down. And the intention is to mix Qi, the formless, with the tea, the form, so that it becomes your medicine and your medicinal intentional practice. So think of an intention. Usually the intention is about health and vitality, something to do with your body, some form of healing intention, and breathe that into your mid-eye. Just take a few deep breaths. You can close your eyes, Feel that point activated. That's connected to your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. A few slow, deep breaths. Just put your attention on that point. Sometimes it feels like it activates by feeling as if there's a little bit of pressure there or a little spiraling there. And that's how you know the point is activated. If you don't feel anything, that's fine too. Then take a sip of tea. When you take a sip of tea, breathe energy into that point, into your mouth, and see it forming this golden elixir, like sunlight shining on water. Then when you're ready, you swallow the tea and visualize that golden elixir going into the body. And then that intention becoming part of all your cells, and those cells working together to create and support the healthiest version of your mind-body system. All right. And with that intention, we're ready to go.
Very nice.
That is the Qi Gong version of creating like holy water. It says water forms to intention. That's why if you put an intent on the outside of a water bottle, you know, the famous Japanese scientist was putting different intentions on water and then studying the crystals. And there was there's a big differentiation between, you know, a negative word and words like love, joy, compassion. The crystals would all form to that. So when you do some energy in setting intention with tea, which is water, it helps to digest that intention and shift the water crystals. So you could do that a few times. Set your intention, breathe it in, hold the tea in your mouth, visualize it become golden, and then swallow it down. Okay.
Fantastic.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. I see some folks are drinking some green tea, some hibiscus. Somebody says they're drinking a Holden elixir, cold elixir, actually, iced green tea. Japanese gyokuro kuchicha, sweet orange tea. This is fun. I love seeing what folks are drinking. I haven't seen it. Oh yeah, matcha ceremonial tea. There's Jenny. Hey, hope that's good. It's a good way to go. Although Kareen said bedtime yogi tea with a message, : oh, there it comes. An attitude of gratitude brings opportunities. That's the yogi tea for the day. Thank you, Kareen, for sharing. Rockin' Mint, Jor in Santa Cruz. Hey, Jor, how's it going?
Jor?
Yeah.
Rockin' Mint. Oh, so good.
I do too. Yep. Somebody's having a gin and tea. Good on you, Mary Lou. Great. Well, today, do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything in particular? Feels like it's worth chatting about, or should we jump into Q&A? What do you want to do, Mr. Holden?
Let's jump into Q&A, and then we'll do a nice little closing ritual and answer people's questions. Yeah, when people are talking about, they're chatting about James Nestor's book on Breathe, so I can answer questions on that. And I reached out to him, and I'm going to have an interview conversation with him. So he'll be one of my guests at some point, hopefully in the near future. And we'll talk about more talk about breathing.
Perfect. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, let's get started then. If you are interested in asking any questions and you're in the Zoom, please put them in the Q&A box, and we'll just start picking those off as we go and move forward. A little later, we will actually invite a few folks up to come on camera and on screen and ask their questions directly, but that'll be later. And then if you are on Facebook, you can ask questions by putting comments on the post, and we'll have Zach bring those over and ask those as well. Paula says, I'm new. I know of Lee, but who's the guy in the blue shirt? Well, I'm Ben. I'm the co-founder of Holden QiGong. I got into doing QiGong with Lee many years ago here in Santa Cruz, and did all the teacher trainings and did all the stuff I could, and then eventually decided to start a business together, building all these online trainings and building the team and running the business and operating it in such a way that Mr. Holden gets to show up and do what he does best, which is teach Qigong and inspire people. So I'm the business visionary, and he's the Qi and inspiring people visionary. At least that's what I call him. Nice. Okay. T2 Licorice Legs Tea today. Wow, that's a cool name. All right. So get the questions into the Q&A. They're starting to pour in. So we're going to go ahead and start taking care of those. And then, as I said before, if you are on Facebook, feel free to put them in comments and we'll get those proxied over here later on. Mr. Holden, any of them jumping out at you, or you want me to tee them up?
Yeah, I'm looking in there right now. Let's just, okay, I'll just take it from the top. Anne is asking, I have some AFib and avoiding medication. What would be the best Qigong practice? Well, we just did Qigong for a healthy heart. So in that program, we have, exercises like coming home to the heart, all these wonderful heart flows that open the meridian and the organ. So when we're looking at an organ, especially the heart, it has electricity to it. And this bioelectricity we want to balance and create a nice steady rhythm within the heart, because the heart's energy, that Qi of the heart, is so important, because that is the spark of life that pumps the blood through the body. So what can help lifestyle things that helps the heart? Improve your sleep. And that seems to do wonders for AFib or irregular heartbeats. Get more sleep, improve the sleep, improving your sleep hygiene, like sleeping in a dark room, wearing some dark eye masks, getting enough hours, 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night, trying to get into some of those deeper states, like, an hour and a half of REM and an hour and a half of deep dreamless sleep can really help the heart. In Chinese medicine, they say the heart is the ruler of sleep. And so what we like to do in Qigong practice is to do some calming practices before sleep that help the heart to clear emotional stress. And then when you sleep a lot better. So those would be great things to do. Try the Qigong for Healthy Heart program on the website. And then also, if you wanted to do some sleep work, we have the Qigong for sleep, the workshop. And let's see, Damon, I was wondering what Chinese medicine has to say about using hot baths and hot springs. I think they say it's good. It's great. Chinese medicine likes heat because it helps to improve circulation. So the only thing would be to not overdo the heat, because it can deplete the energy. So if you, are in the hot tub or a hot springs for a couple of hours, you might feel a little bit more yinned out, meaning you're going to be real relaxed. And if you have to do something that day, you might be a little lethargic. So a good recommendation is to alternate between hot and cold. So get in the hot tub and then do a cold plunge, jump in the river if you're at a hot springs, or do an ice bath, and alternate back and forth 3 or 4 times. And that pumps the Qi through the body.
I love
Marianne.
That's one of my all-time favorites of all. The way, if you do kind of steel yourself and get in the cold water after being in the hot water, it's a little shocking at first. But what you find is if you go back and forth a couple of times, then before long, the hot feels cold and the cold feels hot, and you could stay in either one for as long as you want. You could just take up the cold water for 20 minutes if you wanted to and not feel overwhelmed. It's pretty amazing. And it just, like you said, it pumps the Qi, it pumps the blood, it pumps everything. And it's just makes you feel amazing. So
yeah, you're like, wow, I've done a Qigong class and I've only just gone back and forth between the hot spring.
Yep.
And it feels like you've done, an hour of Qigong. And then if you do back and forth, as you were talking about, Ben, if you go back and forth and then do some Qigong afterwards, especially dropping into some real relaxing flows, it is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, all right. Are there Qigong moves that I can do for protection for my horse? Perhaps Iron Shirt. He's been picked on by his new herd mates. Oh man, that is the first time we've had that question, I think.
I had a question about how to protect my horse.
You know, you might be in luck because, Marianne, I did a Qigong workshop once in Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, for caballeros. It was for the horse farmers and the ranchers in that whole area. And there was about 20 of them. And we did Qigong workshop. And they said that they got into a Qigong state and then they could communicate with the horses, and that the horses really responded to their energy. And I've heard about, you know, coaching with horses because they're so very responsive. They mirror our energy. So I would say that you would want to, so here's a Qigong for protection. It's wrist cross flow. You bring your hands this way and then you bring them down, and you just inhale coming up and exhale down. Now, if you do that around your horse and then visualize golden light surrounding the horse and surrounding you, I think that would be a great practice for your horse. And you're going to have to tell me because I have no experience with this. This is just me making up horse protective Qigong exercises on the spot. But that's what works for people.
Yeah, actually, you know, it's an interesting question too, because we do have a fellow in our audience named George who works with horses, and he wrote in talking about how his experience was so great using Qigong and getting into that sort of state and working with horses who have trauma or behavior issues or other things along those lines, and works with horses and Qigong directly. And there's a whole blog post about it on our website under the resources and articles section that you can find, or you can use Google to search our site for the word horse and find it. But look for the story about George B. I forgot his last name. I think it starts with a B. And check him out, because he's doing a lot with horse. I mean, that's kind of what he does for a living, and he is absolutely stoked about the effect of Qigong and his relationship to horses. Zach.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't know that.
Zach just pulled the link. So if you're in Zoom, jump into the chat and the link to that article's there. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is way cool. Yeah, that's great. And you know, when I did that workshop a couple days later, they sent me a picture. They were, a few of them were doing embracing the tree, standing on the horse's back. These are big Clydesdale horses. Wow. And they're doing their Qigong on the horse's back. I was like, man, that looks cool. Yeah. How do the horses feel about it? I'm not sure, but they were doing Qigong on the horse's back. So people are getting creative with their Qi practices. All right, here's one from Catherine. She's a piano teacher. She wanted to know an acupuncture or an acupressure point to recommend to piano students to use to calm their nerves. Well, that's good. You know, the ears, massaging the ears can be very helpful for calming the nerves, especially right on up in the triangular fossa, right up the top of the ear. And you just make little circles, and it's very calming. And if then they did centering like this with a deep breath and an exhale down, that is great for public speaking or performing. And it gets your mind and your body and your energy gathered, ready to perform. So little pressure points to calm the nerves. Get centered to perform.
Beautiful.
And let's see. Anne is asking, she has severe arthritic left shoulder, often hurts to do mini practice, requiring to raise the arm even to forehead height. I push, but any recommendations? Recommendations with shoulder injuries and arthritis, we want to mobilize the joint, but we don't want to irritate the tissue. So the one where where the weight is staggered and you shift the weight and swirl the energy through the shoulder can be really helpful for arthritis. And then these exercises where you're pushing the hand. And if that's hard to do shoulder height, then just go low and do dragon stretches the tail. So anything, for example, like Qigong for upper back and neck would be a really wonderful program to do. and then just keep working out the tension through these and flooding that area, that shoulder joint with more energy without irritating it. And it'll get better and better and better, improving the range of motion. And then this little acupressure point right here is good for shoulder pain, right on the edge of the pinky knuckle. That's small intestine 3 for neck and shoulder pain. Just squeeze on it, massage it, press. And then you have a nice little routine.
Yeah, that one comes in handy.
It does. Oh, let's see. And Laura is asking about, do you have any suggestions for skin diseases or psoriasis? Well, in acupuncture school, they say the classics, if you want to save face as an acupuncture doctor, don't treat skin issues. So, because skin can be extremely challenging to treat and very particular. So what's going to work with one person doesn't always work with somebody else. So psoriasis, what I found that's worked really well is lowering stress. And if you lower the stress, the heat that tends to rise to the surface and agitate the skin starts to go down. So manage your stress, do Qigong to clear stress and stay centered and balanced. That's that's almost good for everything, but especially good for skin. And then this point right here, the top of the elbow, that's large intestine 11. It's called the Crooked Marsh. It's where these two bones meet right in the middle here. You squeeze and push on it, and it's great for clearing heat, and that is good for skin. It's the best point on the body for skin, right here. So you massage, and I like doing with the thumb. It's also great for infections, so it clears heat, like sore throat. We always use it for anything that's any kind of infection, but anytime somebody comes in with a skin issue, that's the acupressure point to use.
Very cool. I have one for you if you wouldn't mind. On the shoulder topic, is there a particular exercise you recommend for rotator cuff?
Rotator cuff? Okay, so rotator cuff is a combination of different muscles and tendons. You got a bicep tendon, supraspinatus, you have the teres minor, and it makes this like cuff for, and usually when people, their heads come forward, it pulls that shoulder out of alignment. So keeping the shoulders back. So this exercise is really good to keep the shoulders back in alignment with your upper back and cervical spine. And then the exercise where you put the hand behind the back and rotate both directions is very good for the rotator cuff because it stretches both the front, the back, and the sides. And then you're going to want to do with rotator cuff some little like strength training because you want to pump circulation into all those small little muscles. So a band, like a therapeutic band, a physical therapy band, you just basically tie it to a door handle and you hold your elbow into your rib cage and just go back and forth like this. Physical therapy exercise meets Qigong. And then you hold it the other way and just pull this way. And you keep the elbow in so that those little muscles start working. And that tends to work really well with those couple of Qigong exercises.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorites was always that one where you put the shoulder behind the back and then you rotate and stretch and push the arm forward because it would seat the shoulders back, seat the neck back, kind of get everything where it belongs. But when my shoulder was messed up not long ago from body surfing, I couldn't really get it back there very easily. What do you recommend in that case? Just kind of like have it hanging down by your butt, or
put it on your hip.
Okay.
Yeah, you hang it either like on your tailbone or you just put it on the hip, and you'll feel it'll move all the surrounding tissue by rotating. So the spine will rotate and whatnot. So you just put it on the hip, or if you can get it to your sacrum, and then you gradually, inch by inch, move it up higher.
Yep, great. That's pretty much what I was doing. So good to know I didn't hurt myself.
Good.
Another one, and we have a couple of folks asking a similar question. So when talking about meridians, like gallbladder and spleen and so forth, what if you had surgery to remove these organs? Would the chi be stagnant because the organ's missing, or the meridians independent of each other? In this case, she had thymus removed and soon to have gallbladder removed, and she's concerned about her chi.
Yeah, that's a valid concern and a good question. Now, what happens is you want to work on your overall energy in your body. So I would recommend like a 5-element kind of flow, because you want the other organs to get nourished and stronger, because they'll pick up the job of the organ that's been removed. So if your spleen's been removed, then your liver and your small intestine, stomach, and all the other organs come in to help out. I often talk about it in terms of a soccer analogy. If one of your players gets a red card, they're out of the game. Now the rest of the players have to make up for the player that's out of the game. So sometimes when a player gets kicked out of the game and you're playing with one man or one woman short, all of a sudden the team rallies and you even play better because you're more focused, and your body can do that as well. So you're playing with one organ down, but all the rest of your organs rally, and you want to support that rally with good, healthy practices. Keep your stress levels down, your energy levels up, and work those 5 elements. So the 5-element flows and the healing sounds can really give your organ system some support.
Yeah. Similar for amputations. So if somebody has breast cancer surgery, had something removed, or removal of lymph nodes, or maybe even an amputated limb, would it be a similar situation?
It is a similar situation. With a limb, it's different because your body will compensate by investing more energy into another side. Even with things like being blind, all of a sudden you have more energy into your auditory sense, into your kinesthetic sense, and it's wonderful because people can develop so much skill in their other senses. There's a lot more range that we don't even know about. I was watching a show on a blind man, and he developed echolocation. He could click his tongue and tell you exactly what was in the park. He was like, there's a tree over there, there's this person there, and he could really tell and distinguish everything by making this clicking sound and listening.
That's
fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Claudia is asking about spine issues. So she's struggling with cervical and lumbar spine discopathies, and to the point where she had to stop working for a few months. And after about a 50% recovery, started working, but again, kind of in big pain, symptoms, losing strength in the arms, a lot of pain in the arms and in the back. It sounds like cervical stuff. She's doing exercises for the spine, but not quite there. What do you recommend under the circumstances?
So overall, doing some overall work on the nervous system and overall energetic healing work can be really helpful. I would recommend like meditation. What is it called? Mindfulness through motion. What's our meditation movement class?
Oh, mindfulness through movement. Yeah, that's a great
mindfulness through movement program. Things that are going to be really flow oriented to really calm the nervous system down. So spend extra time on the flows, and then maybe some extra time on the kidneys, because the kidneys control the joints, and especially like the low back. And so I would say the fountain would be a great exercise. Anytime you can spend more time in flows, it's like being suspended in water. So you get the body into that effortless state, and all of a sudden the nervous system, the spine, starts to heal on its own. So again, getting out of stress can really help with pain. Pain levels go way down when we're calm, relaxed, and out of stress, and they go up when we are in stress. So when I was working with the doctors at the Bay Area Pain and Wellness Center, we found that QiGong really helped to lower medications with people on chronic pain. QiGong and meditation. So I designed all their programs for them, and they had excellent results with that. And that was just, I would say, not a very robust program. People were doing 15 to 20 minutes of QiGong maybe every other day, and we saw dramatic improvement. So if you up it to 45 minutes to an hour of QiGong a day, spending more time in the flow state, it's going to do wonders.
Yeah, I'll vouch. I mean, I think a lot of times what happens if you're dealing with that much pain for that long, the back is such a central thing, and it leads to a lot of referred pain in other parts of your body, down the arms and so forth, is that the nervous system kind of just gets used to sending pain signals to the brain and prioritizing them. So I had chronic pain from a back torn disc in my L5S1 in my 20s, and I was in constant pain for almost 8 years. And I tried a wide variety of modalities, but really the key thing before I could do the more strenuous exercise to strengthen things and bolster the spine and make sure that everything was where it should be, was getting that pain level kind of manageable. And it was nervous system was just out of whack. And it was just too used to sending those pain signals and liked doing it, I guess. So we, we need to take advantage of all these tools that can help relax you, your mind, your nervous system, get you out of stress, out of fight or flight. So much of the negative feedback loop is our clenching around the pain, and clenching and being, it's sort of putting the nervous system in a greater state of stress than it necessarily would be just from the pain because of our reaction to it. And so that was something that I discovered. And it's a big part of why I'm into this work now and why I'm so engaged here is that with this Qigong and so forth, is that it is such a powerful modality for sort of handling that side of it. A combination of movement and meditation practices is just profound. So you're in the right place, and everything Lee said fits my experience as somebody with chronic back pain for many years. Who's no longer in back jail.
Yeah, that is tough. And when your back hurts, it is just miserable.
Well, that's how you got into this whole thing too, isn't it?
That's how I got into Qigong in the first place, and I started doing Qigong practices. I was so amazed at the recovery and the quickness of the recovery. Granted, I was 19 years old, but I was just floored because nothing else was helping. You know, I had a cortisone shot, I had painkillers, and nothing was touching the pain. It just made me feel woozy and sick to my stomach and whatnot. And then I did some acupuncture and Qigong, and I was like, the light went on. So yeah, I think it really works, but work the tools of relaxed flows and any kind of mobilizing exercises that feel good for you, but don't irritate the tissue. So just warm up, knocking on the door of life, nice and easy, but then spend a lot more time in those flows.
Great. Excellent. Here's an interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm seeing a good question about post-COVID.
Yeah.
Saying I'm a post-COVID long hauler.
Uh-oh.
Gosh, can Qigong help me recover faster? And you know, this is still a question. It's a mysterious question. I think it will. I've heard from a lot of Qigong students that have had COVID and that it has helped recovery tremendously. But it is a new thing for all of us. You know, what we try to do with our immunity kit that we sent out was just give people some strength and energy to focus in on the immune system. And then that's almost prevention. But if you do catch it, then what do? Then we want to strengthen the respiratory system and really work on, you know, breathing exercises that open the chest and the ribs and the diaphragm, and then strengthen the lungs that way. So I would say healing sounds, a lot of the lung sounds. The lung sound that's vocalized is the sound of Z. And if you take your hands up like this and zzz, and really vibrate the lungs, that's going to really help to cleanse or detoxify after a sickness. So I would spend, 5-10 minutes just making that zzz sound, and then come down and hold some white radiant light, and then do it again, and just have that be a practice and a meditation practice. And that could be great for prevention, respiratory system, post-COVID, during COVID, as a way to cleanse and clear.
That's great.
So let us know how that works and how you like it, because we're putting together kind of what works Qigong wise at different stages of this crazy disease.
Yeah, no kidding. The Christy in the chat said she too is dealing with this, and Qigong is helping her heal. So good.
Okay, good. Great.
Keep it up. And yeah, we're very curious. We want to hear about the results.
You in my room. Come say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Do we look alike?
Yeah, not at all. I don't know. You must have found her in the woods somewhere.
In my closet to the left. Yeah. They're off to the beach.
Oh, good. It's a good day.
School's done and they're off to the beach.
Too hot to not be at the beach.
I will go meet them there after. Okay.
Clement is asking, I recently did the Microcosmic Orbit workshop, and I'm interested in learning more about the Microcosmic Orbit practice as well as healing sounds. Are there any particular books you would recommend, including anything by Montauk Chia?
So they already, if they haven't done our Microcosmic Orbit workshop, that would be a great place to start. So we have a workshop.
She did. She started there and wants to learn more.
Now what I recommend is doing the 3 treasures, because you have these 3 energy centers. You have the upper treasure, middle treasure, lower treasure, and the Microcosmic Orbit circulates through those 3 treasures. And that would be the next thing to do, is to connect the 3 treasures. Montauk Chia's work on the Microcosmic Orbit is excellent as well. So I highly recommend his work too. So
any particular books?
So that would be a great way to do some Montauk Chia, do some 3 treasures, and that would be next level stuff. And then we have our Taoist Alchemy, where I go into in-depth practices of more of the extraordinary meridians. So Microcosmic Orbit is 2 of the 8 extraordinary channels. And as this internal alchemy progresses, you work on more channels and more refined energy. And so that's what we want to do.
Excellent. Here's one from Eric. What is your Qigong evening / going to bed routine?
Oh, you don't even want to know, Eric. Okay, so me personally, I do a set of breathing practices with slow flows, and then a meditation that involves like very slow, long, deep breathing to kind of go into a yin state. So that's one practice. The other practice that I love is to sit on the edge of the bed and do all 6 healing sounds about 3 times each. And I do it in it's probably less than a 10-minute practice. So I go through all 3 of them, visualizing the organs, clearing and purging out any stress or energy of the day. And that is just a go-to practice in the evening for me. And I'll do that right before bed.
Yeah, that works well for me too, right before bed. Some of the other, clearing stress and doing things that are a little more strenuous, I guess you might say, or just more active. I'll often do an evening Qigong routine more like an hour before bed instead of like right before bed. That does more of the clearing type movements and stuff. And that really works well for me personally. But the sitting on the edge of the bed doing the healing sounds is always a winner, right as you're getting in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can Lee see auras?
Yeah. Can you?
Well, yeah.
Can you see them through Zoom?
I can. You're all lit up with this kind of nice white goldeny energy. And who asked that question? Judith, I can see your aura too, even though you're not on screen. So, well, okay. So everything does have let's call it an aura around it, and it's not as mystical as it sounds, because form creates the formless, and we all exude an energy, which we often call a personality. We all step into a room and people notice our energy as we speak, our voice tonality, a lot of things that we exude compose our aura or our energy output. And so even something like the earth itself has a form, and the formless is gravity. The sun has a form, and then the rays of the sun, which are formless, is what this body is exuding. So we as energy beings exude a particular kind of energy, and now auras are kind of colors that are associated with that energy field. And there's certain cameras that can pick up the energy field, and there's people that can see energy fields. For me, I get more of a kinesthetic sense. So if I put my hands over somebody, I can feel where energy is blocked, what the sensation, is it cold, is it hot, what it kind of needs to happen. Now to see auras, you need to use a soft gaze and practice with trees. So with a tree where the sky's behind it, if you look at the tree with soft gaze, you'll see the aura around the tree, and you start to practice that. And then for people, if they're on a blank wall and you soft gaze, I mean, open your peripheral vision, you'll start to see the aura around, and you start to develop that skill set. Like anything else, being able to see and sense energy is a skill. And some of us have more of a propensity towards kinesthetic sensation, visual, auditory. And so see what your skill set really lends to.
Interesting.
Carolina is asking, during the teacher training on the online course, do we teach the meridians? And yes, we do. The meridians are a big focus of that teacher training, especially the 5 elements. When we do a 5-element flow that goes to each of the meridians, and we start to learn about the meridians, both the theory and certain meridians with acupressure points. It's not a hugely in-depth meridian course, but you will learn, you will learn about meridians and how it relates to energy, Qigong practice, and Chinese medicine.
Great.
Do you have more questions, Ben?
Sure. Here's an interesting one that I find personally kind of interesting. I'm going to see if I can paraphrase a little bit. Jane is writing in about reframing language, listening to Abraham Hicks, and one thing she likes about it is this concept that every subject is really 2 subjects, what is wanted and the lack of what is wanted. So when she's in the flow of the classes, she has some resistance when you talk about pushing away negative energy or imagining protective energy surrounding the body. Feels like she's focusing on the negative or the lack, as opposed to allowing the flow of abundance or well-being energy to flow easily.
Mm-hmm.
So loves the classes, really respects the teaching, wants to hear the reframe so she can invite that into practice and maybe stop having that resistance. And she thanks us for all we contribute to the well-being of the globe. I'm glad you're not a flat earther, Jane. Thank you too for being here and being part of our mission.
Yeah. This is an important topic. So, I mean, it's more in depth because what we're talking about is yin and yang. We can't have yang without yin. We can't know happiness without knowing some sadness, and vice versa. So the real practice of Qigong, when we're letting it go, is this process of composting, using the negative where it's supposed to be. Because if we put energy in the wrong place, it creates an unhealthy system. If we put energy in the right place, it's the cultivation of the garden. So if we put the soil, in the house, and then we try to plant the plants in the cement, nothing works quite right. And that's what we're doing in modern life. We're not cultivating energy in a natural way. So when we're talking about letting go of the negative, it's not just dumping your garbage on somebody else's lawn and driving away. It's taking responsibility for the feeling. I have anxiety or I have stress. Okay, nothing to get rid of or run away from. It's like, now I'm going to compost that energy. I'm going to use it for context to grow the energy that I want. And so we're going to transform this transformational process of putting the negative, let's call it, to the earth, or letting it go, meaning that we're going to move it out of the organ systems and transform it so that there's space for the garden of positive, virtuous energy to move and grow within us. So cultivating energy is like working with the garden. And that's what we want to do. We want to move the negative. Negative means unuseful. It's like you ate a big meal and now you have all this compost. You're not going to just leave it on the kitchen counter. You're going to go put it in the garden and work with the soil and put it on the plants. And then nature is going to grow this garden. And so energy work is much like that. And to get really deep into that practice, it takes a little time. That's why we have an immersion, the 5 elements immersion week. We get to dive into these topics a little bit more. So if you want to get into the emotional work that we do in this composting, that 5-element immersion is wonderful. In an hour class, the intention for a lot of people, they need that intention, that permission to say, okay, I'm going to let go of the stress that I'm carrying around, because we letting go of the unnecessary. So for example, to get to flow state, we need to let go of excess tension. What is excess tension? It's a relationship that we have to the world. When we think about something happening, like, oh my gosh, there's this pandemic, or I think about my boss or my kids, what am I going to do for dinner? We start tightening up our muscles. It's an unnecessary energy. So letting go is coming back to actually your natural relaxation, your natural state of ease. And so we often do too much. Under stress, you're going to do too much. You're going to too much thinking, too much tension, and even too much breathing. Under stress, you're going to, and you become not very oxygen efficient. So, and then we're going to overeat. So this overly doing things, we come back to a state of natural inner balance, the natural okayness. So the letting go is coming back to yourself. And that's what we're doing. Let go of the old to come back to your state of balance and being centered. That's a quick answer for a big conversation, but I hope that sheds some light on what she was asking.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, it's a tricky thing because we live in a world of duality, and we experience the world through the yin and the yang, the pleasure and the pain, the hot and the cold, and all that. And so there's all these different, in my experience, there's all these different levels of relationship with those things and with that duality. So at a certain point, you recognize that these techniques that you're doing to compost these things that have kind of found their way into your body are perhaps not really negative and not really positive in a way. I mean, it's just all part of the Tao and part of being in that flow, and it's part of your life, and it's part of your destiny, and it's part of who you are and what's going on in this non-dual place that we can kind of attain and awareness of. But that's not usually the starting point. The starting point is actually kind of getting all this stuff composted and getting enough of it out of the way to even connect with that awareness of that non-duality, like that sort of flows through everything. So it's tricky, but if you can kind of embrace that, the dualistic language is at one level and the non-dualities at it's still there, it's underlying it all, but that language of duality is relative. So it's relative, just like yin and yang are relative to each other. It's relatively negative or relatively whatever, and yet it's all one at a higher level. So.
Well, and the question about developing a field of protection, because somebody else, you could be in a good mood, in a happy place, and then we take on the stress of somebody else. That it's being strong enough because people will dump their garbage on your lawn, and then it's like, now what do I do with it? And you can just say, oh, hey, thanks for that extra compost. Somebody gets mad at you, somebody's frustrated with you, people are edgy. I was talking to a guy and was standing in line at a restaurant, and he was just really beside himself about people moving in his space in the 6-foot zone. And he had his mask on, and he was yelling at people, and so I was like, oh, this is a good time to practice that composting. And as I did the composting, I could see him starting to reason with me, like looking at other people, that you got to be 6 feet away, and I have this circumstance, and my wife at home is this. And he started calming down, and I was just like, God, that sounds like a really challenging thing. He was just so full of anxiety around this particular topic. And I could start to feel his energy, and people were arguing with him and yelling, and there's, I could feel it. So I just did a little bit of composting, and I was like, oh, that's how this works in the moment immediately. So that I wasn't taking on his agitation, because that's not my agitation. We all have enough agitation and stress to work on our own. To take on somebody else's is often challenging, and we will take on somebody else's. But if you have a good composting system already established, you could just be like, oh, thank you for your energy. Read an article on on your phone that's like, gets you stressed out. Oh, there's an extra energy. I'm going to compost that. How do we compost it? Notice where you're holding excess tension. Notice where your thoughts are going. do some slow breathing, do some healing sounds, do some flows, do some shaking, and the composting starts to happen. And what is the goal? To come into a state of harmony and balance, where you're beyond duality. You're in the middle. You're not yin or yang. The goal is to be able to harmonize both. And so that's even a deeper practice, to transcend this idea of good and bad, and we're just in the center, in the process.
You're right. It was a quick answer to a much bigger conversation. And really, fundamentally, the question is like, why the Tao, or why Qigong, or, you know, I mean, fundamentally, it's like, what is the point of all this, right? And at a more fundamental level. So that'd be an interesting discussion to kind of get into at a more philosophical level sometime. Yeah. But in the meantime, I know Zach's been over there on Facebook pulling questions together from the Facebook crowd. So he's here to speak for the trees, as the Lorax would say.
Definitely. We've got a ton of eager people on Facebook with some questions. The first one we'll start out with is from Mariella. What would you recommend for a Qigong practice for someone that has scoliosis?
Okay, scoliosis. You know, the Qigong for a healthy spine, fantastic workshop. I would say you're going to want to work with it because it can be chronic, long-term, and then just continually find the exercises that make you feel better. So I might recommend the Qigong for Healthy Spine workshop. And then you could do Qigong for low back and Qigong for upper back, and alternate those on different days. And then we're clearing the lines of tension in the upper spine, clearing the lines of tension in the lower spine. If you are in pain, if your body's in pain, do everything gently, spend more time in the flows. And that's the way to work with pain. Don't push into it too strongly, because we can irritate things. And that's kind of a Qigong philosophy. No pain, no pain. So you find the no pain zone and stay there while you're increasing Qi, blood flow, and circulation.
Wonderful. And then another question from Yakov. What do you have to say about the crackling sounds when I tilt my head or neck and turn too far to either side?
It's just fine. It's like the cracking or crackling sound is often tendons rolling over joints, or the gas in the joints, if it's actually cracking, is getting moved, and that's all just fine as long as it's not painful. So keep moving through it. Go slow, especially in those stretches. Go slower so that the oiling of the joints happen, and the range of motion, the youthful vitality pours in and through all the joints. So just go slow, start off gentle, work your way into it.
Perfect. And we've got a couple of acupressure point questions, one from Susan and one from Tricia. The first one's going to be, what are your recommendations for ankle discomfort acupressure points? And the second one is going to be for kidney acupressure points.
Okay. The first one was what? I'm sorry, Zach, tell me again.
Ankle discomfort.
Oh, ankle discomfort. So ankle, on the inside of the ankle is kidney points. And on the outside of the ankle is bladder points. So both the water element. So sit with the soles of your feet together on the floor, and then just massage inside of the ankles, bottoms of the feet. These are all kidney points. Bottoms of the foot, kidney 1, right under the ball of the big toe. You can look it up. Just Google it and look for some image. Kidney 1 is called the bubbling springs. That is a fantastic point to massage for anything from anxiety to insomnia to foot pain to ankle pain. And just with the soles of the feet, just massage inside of the ankles with the fingertips around the outside of the ankles, and then kidney 1.
Perfect. And a question from BB. I've been in a car accident. What kind of exercises do you recommend for whiplash?
Okay, so again, you're going to want to go slow, spend more time in the flows, because that's going to calm your nervous system. Once the nervous system's calm, the body feels like, now I can invest in my healing. And then I recommend Qigong for upper back and neck. Do all the stretches real gentle at first. Take it real slow and gentle, increase circulation, range of motion, and that's going to be your therapy.
Perfect. And we've got a few questions that I'm seeing on just how to cool down your body. More specifically, what are some exercises you can advise during heat waves to cool down your body without having a meltdown?
Man, that is a good question for this time of year in many places of the country. So cooling, this is called the triple warmer healing sound. You basically just inhale, palms face down towards the ground, and you exhale with a, which is H-E-E-E. Nice and slow, and do that about 9 times, and it discharges internal heat. So external warmth and heat can be irritating if we have resistance for holding too much stress, if we're running hot. So calming and cooling the energy system internally, clearing stress, and then you can use that heat to open up your muscles and channels. So you want to think, just reframe it when you're really hot outside and it's really warm. Think about it melting away tension, clearing pain, and opening up the channels, because under heat, instead of being constricted, everything opens up and you get that circulation of blood flow and energy. So you can reframe it that way too.
Nice. And a question from Lisa. I just finished the book Breathe that you recommended. Do you suggest any of the breathing practices that are described in the book?
I suggest all of those. They're really good. They're really well researched. You know, they collaborate and correspond to a lot of the Qigong exercises that we do. Think about when you're breathing, in general, we want good range of motion and flexibility of our respiratory muscles. So lots of movement in our rib cage and our chest and our diaphragm can be very helpful. And that's the wave breathing and deep abdominal breathing, the Qi belt breathing, all those things that we do in Qigong practice, wonderful. And then a lot of the takeaway is just to slow the breath down, breathe in and out through the nose, nice slow pace. And that's what you want to do most of the time. And then occasionally we do some breath work where we're exhaling through the mouth as a way to release or compost energy, or as a way to put the respiratory system under a little bit of stress. So a little bit of stress at the right time can create strength, just like lifting weights on your muscles. So you will do exercises, whether it's hyperventilating or strong breathing, like fanning the fire, for short amounts of time, 2 or 3 minutes, to strengthen the whole respiratory system. And so, yes, I recommend all those exercises, alternative nostril breathing, but in Qigong, you're going to get, you know, a good 60, 70, 80% of wonderful breathing exercises that he recommends. And then there's some other things in our advanced Qigong workshops where we show some of those other breathing practices and more.
Perfect. And a question from May. I am in week 13 of the teacher training, and I am wondering how the Taoists discovered that there were emotion colors. Example being the 5 elements, and the water element being paired with the bones in the body.
It's interesting because the discovery of energy systems came about through subjective scientists. These are the scientists that went inward to discover the nature of reality. They sit in meditation in very sensitive, highly trained energy systems. And so they came up with the acupressure system, the meridian systems, the organs, and the different Qigong movements. You know, they just had a lot more time to be with themselves out in nature, you know, and that's a good thing to develop sensitivity. So over hundreds and thousands of years, they mapped out different practices. And that's how they discovered the ways in which our emotions and our organs and the organ systems correspond to different things. And now, for example, your kidneys, kidneys are the rulers of the endocrine system, and the bones. Well, what happens when estrogen goes down or gets deficient? We get loss of bone density. So you can see a lot of corresponding information in Chinese medicine related to Western medicine. It's definitely not all the same, but you get a lot of good correlations with, oh, hormones change, bone density change. Oh, that's kidney energy. And so you'll see that. And I like to bring in a lot of that information in our more in-depth 5-element workshops and immersions, so we can see, oh, these energetic scientists were speaking the same language as objective Western science, but just from a completely different framework or paradigm.
Wonderful. And a question from Jacqueline. I'm a yoga teacher and I'm really enjoying practicing Qigong and subscription. When we talk about the 5 elements in yoga, we are directed to different areas of the body than the ones you talk about in Qigong. I am keen to do more study in Qigong, but would like to learn it like another language, or can the 2 disciplines overlap?
I think that's a great comment about another language. And that's kind of how you want to see these two. Yoga is like, you know, Spanish, Qigong like French. Okay, they're similar. They have their similar roots, but they're the expressions and the way they go about talking about, you know, the world using the symbolism of language is different. And so Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine are really similar. They're talking about the way to look at the world is through a lens of energy and through a mind-body connection, through holistic medicine. Those are all in alignment. Now, the way they go about practicing is different. Acupuncture with needles, slow flows, breathing practices. Breathing practices are going to be very similar to both. Slow flows and yoga postures are going to be a little bit different, but the goal is the same: increase the circulation of prana or Qi. So they're going to be different. So it's understanding both worlds is important. So if you are a yoga teacher, they're synergistic, but it's nice to say, like, hey, in yoga, the way to go about circulating energy is through these poses. And then at the end of my yoga practice, let's switch and go do some Qigong and work with the water element and do some flows. That works really well. Do a nice, strong yoga practice, then come to a flow practice. And they're synergistic, but it's nice to have that clarity in your mind of what is yoga and Ayurvedic medicine and what is Chinese medicine. It's like speaking both Spanish and French. You can really explain the nuances to somebody and not smash them all together, because there is some real clear practices that it's nice to know where they're coming from and create that synergy.
Nice, that was well put. A question from Kara coming in. I'm seeking guidance around how much of our daily/weekly Qigong practice we should be doing to balance the seasonally dominant element. I felt we were an earth element here in Oregon, but now I'm noticing some metal imbalance over the past 3 days.
Yeah, that's kind of like really skillful ways of working with the 5 elements. And so if it's really hot outside, you can do more water flows. It's also an opportunity that the fire element is really strong. You can take that fire element from nature and use it to enhance or to tonify your own 5 elements of fire. So it's good to know yourself. So if you're a person with excess heat, when it's summertime and the weather's really hot, you might do a lot more water practices. If you're a person with a lot of excess metal in the fall, you might want to do, you know, more earth practices or more grounding practices. You can kind of go to the opposites as a more skillful approach. In the season, I always find it just fine to, if you are in excess fire, if you're doing exercises like cloudy hands, it's now you've opened up to the positive element and your relationship to it in nature. It works really well for me and how I teach. So the simple version is, when it's summertime, do a little bit more fire element practices. When it's winter, do a little bit more water element, just to tonify that system within you. But there's skillful ways you can go to the opposite ends and play around with it. And it's fun to do. So you become your own best healer that way.
Excellent.
Perfect. And that'll wrap up all our questions from Facebook.
Great.
Thanks, Zach. Love it. Well, we're here and we got a little more time. So what we're going to do now is see who wants to raise their hand. And I'm actually going to lower the hands now, just in case somebody wandered off who had their hand raised. If you want to raise your hand, you go down to the participants link, and that's going to bring up a list of people. And that'll, underneath at the bottom will be a raise hand button. And if you raise your hand, then we'll bring you up, if we have time for you, however many we have time for. We'll bring you up here and you'll be on the video and you can ask your question of Lee directly and say hello. So let's get started, shall we? First up is somebody who's aptly named Tea with Lee.
Oh, good.
So it's just going to be a Zoom picture of the two of us talking to each other, asking ourselves questions. I'm looking forward to this. We'll see how it plays out.
Okay.
A little meta here, folks. Okay. Here we are. I could see you. Can you find the unmute? There we are. Hi. What's your real name?
My real name is Karen from Canada.
Oh, hey, Karen.
Karen from Calgary. Hi. Our big screen TV broke, so I have to use my iPhone.
Cool.
But we're doing more outside now, so I really don't want to get it fixed. I'm just going to turn my air conditioner off here. There we go. Okay. So, I have two things. Lee, I'm wondering if you have a green aura because you're a healer.
I've been told that. It's hard to see your own aura because it's like trying to see your own eyeballs.
I know.
Yeah, and you can, what you can do is when you send color into your energy field, you can resonate with that particular color and frequency. So in Qigong, green is going to be the color of transformation. Like trees will take your carbon dioxide, give you back oxygen. So you can intend for a color to work with your own energy synergistically. So blue is going to be more water and water element. You can visualize that. Green, red, if you need a little bit more pickup or yang energy, things like that. And it'll change depending on context, circumstance, situations, especially if you have access to all 5 elements.
Because my friend and I just had a FaceTime. She's in Colorado doing an interview and in Calgary. So we were just doing a FaceTime and she goes, I see gold around you. And I went, how can you do that on FaceTime? Like, don't you have to be in front of someone? So, and then you started talking about gold. So she suggested I do, imagine gold when I'm doing your meditation. So.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great thing to do. And then if you really want to do some of those exercises I was instructing earlier, where you like look at trees with the sky in the background, or have your friend on a very clear like white wall or yellow wall and just do soft gazing, and then you'll start to see the energy field. It's anybody can do it.
That is so cool. But
Yeah.
So here's my question, because there are people waiting. But I forgot. Oh yeah, I love doing the leg work. I love it. So can I do it? It's a silly question. Can I do as many as I can?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Get a good workout like tiger or whatever strength legs that we're doing. Yeah, you could do more of that. That's a great workout. And that's the way to do it, get a cardiovascular workout.
Well, and I didn't do this to lose weight. I did it to hurt my back because I tripped over 2 kindergarten chairs and your formas, so those little kiddos. So I do, I can't see. I do dragon chases the tail and the turtle.
Great.
And the hero one where you go on you bend your right foot and then you're on your toes. So okay, good.
That's fantastic. And you might want to add the tiger.
Oh, that's great.
That's a great leg exercise.
Yep, good for legs and hips. Get those hips open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. My Qigong information book is growing.
Good. Wonderful.
Well, thanks for coming on. Nice to see you, Karen from Canada.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again soon.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Let's see who's next. All right. Next up is Sky. Sky, you're going to be popping back on here in a split second. And there we are. And let's see if we can get Sky video and audio.
Hello.
Hi, Sky. It's working. I see a hand.
Okay,
there we go. Your Sky.
Is that better?
That's better. Perfect. Thanks.
I started doing Qigong to help recover from a severe MS exacerbation, and it's been very helpful. And I took the leap of faith and took the Buddha Palm training class. what would be helpful for me is if Lee might make a 30-minute version of the final routine for those who have stamina limitations like me. Could be for other reasons.
Yeah, 30-minute routine of which one? Of the video class subscription or?
The Buddha Palm, I did the Buddha Palm training all the way through.
Great.
And I just find the 40 minutes is closer, but 30 minutes would be better for me. When I go beyond that, I can't do it on a daily basis.
I see. Okay, so I think we're gonna have some bonuses and they're gonna have some shorter routines around 30 minutes. And what you can do personally, and this goes for anybody who with stamina issues, if the routine is 45 an hour, you can just scrub, sometimes even scrubbing back from the end and just do the last 30 minutes is a great way to do it. And you're usually getting all those flows in the last 30 minutes, and you're missing some of the beginning warm-ups, which sometimes are a little bit more of a physical workout, and then the energetic workout comes out more towards the end. So just go back how long you want and then just play it forward, and then you can go right into your flows that way. It's a fine way to do anything that you want that's longer.
Well, I find knocking on heaven's door is very good for my energy.
I bet.
And
yeah,
I
can see that.
I enjoy it. And the water flows. It would be nice if you could kind of just go from start to finish.
Absolutely. Well, you'll see in the bonuses, we did just that. So you're in luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take a look at that. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
I think those went out today. So check your email. I think
I will.
Find the bonuses just went out today. So jump in.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you.
for coming on, Sky.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Next up, we have Yakov. Yakov will be coming back in just a sec here. And there we are. Hi, Yakov. Let's see if we can get the audio visual going here. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. And now we see you.
Okay. See me and hear me?
Sure do.
Okay. Good. First of all, thank you very much, both of you.
A pleasure.
And question I want to ask is, what about cataracts? Is there anything in Qigong to help cataracts, age onset macular degeneration, the bleeding of little capillaries in the retina?
Yeah. Eye stuff. So with the eyes, I'll tell you what Chinese medicine discusses. So in Chinese medicine, eyes are related to the liver, the wood element. So when you do wood element or liver exercise, it's going to be helpful for the eyes. For example, this tree sways, come right here to the eyes and clear. So you just turn to one side, inhale, right by the eyes, exhale. And then after you get a lot of energy in the hands, just hold, make little cups right over your eyes and send that healing energy into the eyes. And so those kinds of things can be extremely helpful.
Okay.
And then, with cataracts, you want to get the Qi and the circulation moving through the eyes. And that's what I would suggest doing. Liver healing sounds can be good. And there are some great eye exercises, where you're moving the eyes left and right, up and down, just to strengthen all the muscles in the eyes. I personally find that making just the big circle with the eyes a couple times one way and a couple times the other way helps with eye strain, strengthening the muscles, and focus of the mind too.
Can you remind me of the liver healing sound?
Shh.
Okay.
That's the liver healing sound, is just shh. And you could even hold when you're holding the hands over the eyes and sending that healing energy there.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Live long and prosper, Yakov.
Mhm.
See you soon.
May the force be with you.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. It sure is. That's what we're doing here, is mastering the force. Lee, I think we got time for one more quick one, and then we'll do a little closing.
Okay.
And call it a day. So we're going to see Haruni in just a moment here. And, you know, I'm always just butchering people's names and probably getting them all wrong. So hopefully I got the name right. But if I didn't, I apologize, Haruni. And here you are. I see you, and now I hear you.
Hi, Ben and Lee. Thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time, and I've got a bit of a, I don't know whether it's a selfish question, but I heard a question around the aura, and Lee, you said you could see people's aura. And I was just wondering whether you're able to see my aura, perhaps from this visual, and suggest what kind of energy I should be working with.
Okay.
What a great question. And by the way, Haruni, is it Haruni?
It is Hiruni, yes.
Hiruni. Okay, great. By the way, Hiruni, thank you for getting in front of a white background before asking your question. You obviously were paying attention. You get high marks as a student. Good on you. All right, Lee, take it away. Good luck with this one.
Okay. Haruni, I'm seeing like you have a guardian spirit over your right shoulder.
My daughter, no.
You know what I am? But everybody else sees that guardian spirit as well. You're a very lucky lady to have somebody with that laugh. That is going to definitely give you a really golden kind of glow. You have that golden yellow energy around you. And it does have like this wonderful light green. And so you're going to want to, now, what is the aura? This in Chinese medicine is called Wei Qi. Wei Qi, and the energy field is something that we exude, but it's also very porous. So it's how we empathetically take on the energy of the world. So as moms and as parents, we're going to have a much stronger, big, wide aura, especially when our children are around. So what I might recommend is to kind of keep your aura at some point during the day, just to feel the energy field kind of squeeze in to keep it contained. And then that wrist-cross flow, you can do it as a flow, or just very simply hold your hands here and imagine that yellow golden energy surrounding your body. You have that like sunlight through trees kind of vibe, and that's going to help keep you strong, centered, and balanced. So if you imagine that sunlight, green energy, like sunlight shining through trees, that's going to resonate with your highest expression as you go through the world.
That's very encouraging. Thank you so much. Really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Hiruni. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Guardian.
Thank you. That's for you.
Excellent. Well, it's about time to bring another Tea with Lee to a close. And sorry, Mary, we didn't get to you, but we'll see you in the subscription classes. So, Lee, do you want to sort of bring us out on a high note? And
Oh yeah. Well, everybody's talking about auras today. That was interesting, huh? That was good. Wei Qi,
cool.
protective energy. I mean, I think this is so important right now because there's a lot of stress going on in the world. Yeah. It creates the group consciousness energy is often in that stressful place, and the dialogue that people are having can be stressful. We're really facing the unknown in a pandemic, so that brings up a lot of fear. So what can we do? Let's work with our own auras today as a closing meditation. So if you just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and I want you to imagine this golden energy surrounding your body. And in your golden shield, or this field, this aura around you, there might be areas that are a little bit cloudy or murky, congested. Those are areas where we might have taken on the stress of a circumstance, and that we can compost that. We can use that energy to grow a more beautiful, rich inner garden. So now in this golden field, just see from the universe, this waterfall of energy coming through the golden field that's around your body, washing away and cleansing and clearing any cloudy, gray, dark spots, any constriction to the front, to the back, to the sides. And then as it washes down, it goes to the earth and creates this rich soil You can feel your feet on the ground. It creates this rich soil for the energy that you want to cultivate and grow within you. Become the cultivator of internal energy, the gardener of your own inner sanctuary. And with whatever energy life gives you, you can work with it within yourself. And just breathe into that power that you have within yourself to transform, compost, exchange energy in a way that is elevating to you. Take one more deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day.
Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on the next one, or we'll see you in class. Bye, all.
Bye, all.